everyone, and welcome to the Spirit of Healing and Transformation Summit. I'm your co-host, Ann Hessian, and I'm delighted to connect you today with Jenimarie Coon, one of the rising star healers that we're so delighted to connect you with and feature as part of this summit. Welcome, Jenimarie.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be very fun. So we're going to be talking today about reclaiming wholeness, right? First of all, let's just sort of be with that concept. But in particular, how we can use essential oils in that, right? So this, as you say, the secret power of essential oils in emotional healing. And I love this topic. I love, love, love this topic. So let me just introduce Jenimarie a little bit. She's a very gifted medical intuitive and heart-centered energy life coach. And she dedicates her time to helping women who struggle with fear and self-doubt. Isn't that everybody? To some degree,
Yeah.
right? To achieve that wholeness, right? So they can have the liberation that comes from truly experiencing yourself as a whole being, right? Who's not actually broken.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Um, so, and this is a little bit about your story, but growing up in what you call a high demand religion, I love that. I've never really heard it put quite that way before. But, and then finding herself in a mixed orientation marriage, she fell prey to a lot of fears of like never being good enough to deserve the approval and the love that she wanted. And so you would sacrifice your needs in favor of others. Is sounding familiar to everyone, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really that thing of self-sabotage, right? But that, as hard as that was, right? That's what led you to put you into this world of alternative healing, right? Um,
Yeah.
and the life transformation that that has provided. So welcome again, and let's get into that. I shared a little bit of your story, but let's talk about a little bit more. Your journey was into this, the work that you do, deeply personal, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
take us back to the moment that really shifted everything for you.
Yeah, thank you. It's hard to talk about this because
Mhm.
um it is so personal, but I know there's got to be others out there that experience the same thing. And I like you did say and mention, I was in a very high demand religion as a young mother and raising four children. And I thought I was doing all the things. I was reading scriptures with my children. We were praying together. We were going to our meetings. We were doing
Mhm.
all these things, and I still felt so inadequate. And there was one day I came home one Sunday morning, and I had come home from a meeting, and in the meeting they were talking about all these things that I felt I wasn't living up to and I wasn't doing. And I thought, oh my word, I'm failing my children. I'm failing my husband. I'm failing my marriage. I was completely, utterly devastated. And I walked through the door and I took off my coat because it was in the middle of winter. That might have something to do with it, winter depression and things. But walked through the door and went straight to my closet and just sat there and bawled and bawled and bawled. And I thought to myself, what else can I do? What more can I do? Because I feel like I'm just not measuring up in any of these areas and I'm failing. And I'm having this comparison with other women and thinking that I'm just not doing enough. And I was just at the depths of despair and
Mm.
just did not know what else to do. And then just something miraculous happened. I had a voice come to me in my head that said, Jenimarie, and I stopped. I was completely like, oh my word. What? It wasn't me that said it. It was this voice, and it said to me, Jenimarie, all you have to do is love. And I was like, whoa, that's all I have to do. And I just stopped for a minute and I thought about that. I'm like, wow, that's really true. Like that's the key to everything is love. And I can do that. If all I have to do is love, I can do that. I felt so inspired by just that moment. And I thought, wow, that's so simple. I don't have to have this checklist of things I'm doing to measure up. All I have to do is have love in my heart and come from that place. So that being said, that's me looking back at this story and saying all
Right.
these things, but at the time I was just profoundly just amazed by the thought of love. And then the next question was is how do I love?
Right.
Right? Where
So
how do I get to
simple.
that
So
place of
simple.
love?
And also so it's the easiest thing and it's the hardest thing, right?
Oh yeah,
Right? It's
for sure.
a friend of mine always says her little mantra is let the love in and let the love out. And it's like, oh yeah, except then it's gets stuck.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. It
Yeah.
is so simple, profound, but then we're all kind of stuck in this. How do we do it? How do we love?
And it is the central message of really all religions, or at least all of the major religions, and yet it gets lost in all of those other things,
It
right? That
does. And
you were then thinking that those the like you said, I was doing all the things, and it's like doing all the things isn't really what it's about, right? So
no.
let's talk about why love is is really that essential component for healing.
Yeah, I thought I was loving, right? I thought by doing all these things I was being loving, but I wasn't in the love as I was doing it. It was just a checklist. It was an obligation. It was a duty I was fulfilling. And I
Mhm.
didn't have that love behind it. And so that's where the deficit came. And um, by using that idea of having love and placing it within my heart, I actually was coming from a more authentic place. But there
Mhm.
were blocks to that love. I couldn't hold on to that love consistently. And that was where my struggle was, is I don't even love myself. I realized that I didn't even have self-love. And
Mhm.
so that was a huge block to me. And so that kind of catapulted me into this world of, okay, so I'm going to this religion and I don't have self-love. How come that hasn't taught me about self-love? You know, it was all about what I wasn't
Very good
doing.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all about what I wasn't doing. And so then I went on this journey and this search for how do I find this love? How do I
Hmm.
find this love, self-love? And love is the foundation of everything, of all healing. And so that was my challenge,
Yeah.
um, to find that love. And
And
so I went, yeah, go
I
ahead.
just want to add that it's like love is an it's not just it's not a word. I mean, it is a word and it is a concept, but love is an experience. I remember years ago in a course I was in, and the course leader just went up to the chalkboard. He just wrote the word love on the board, right? And he goes like, "There's love like a concept, and then there's love like an experience, and
Mhm.
they're not the same."
They aren't. They aren't. Oh yeah, so true. So my first dive into this world of alternative healing was being exposed to essential oils. I never had heard of them, didn't know anything about them. They were kind of a little bit woo-woo when I first learned about them, but it changed my world. And the first oil that I really connected with was lavender.
Mm.
Lavender is such a gentle, beautiful oil. It's the oil of connection, of communication, and part of lavender, it helps with fears of being rejected and insecurity. And I had all of those fears. And so,
Those are, I mean, direct impediments to wholeness, right? Is feeling,
exactly.
yeah.
Not being able to feel completely whole within myself, the blocks. And so using that oil, I would put it on my heart and on my mind because my thoughts would just race. And that oil would just soften things up and it would make it bearable for me to look at it not as being such a painful thing, but just to be have more compassion for myself and realize that, I'm okay. I may not be doing all the things and doing them to the extent that someone else is, but
Mhm.
I'm okay as a person because I'm divine. I'm a divine being. And so it helped me to get in touch with more of my divinity within. That
Mm.
oil opened the gate. It unlocked the door for me. It was a beautiful oil, and that's what I started with. That's the superpower of that oil.
I love it.
Um,
I love it. No wonder it's such a well-loved one, right?
oh yeah, lavender, just beautiful. And then
Um,
another oil that was key to me was lemon.
Mhm.
Lemon can be used for cleaning purposes, all sorts of things, but lemon was all about joy. And I don't know if you've
Mhm.
ever smelt fresh cut lemons. I'm sure you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
But what are the thoughts that come to you when you smell that
Yeah, I think like
that
there's this
lemon?
freshness, right? There's just this like, I don't know, because it's a very strong scent, right? It's not just, it's not subtle, lemon, right?
Right.
But it's so, yeah, there's a joyfulness to it. Yeah.
There is a joyfulness, and it helps with lemon even helps with learning disabilities, and
Mm. Wow.
it helps with your focus to help you to concentrate, and it brings that joy into the learning process. And so lemon was another key one for me. Another oil too was peppermint. I
Mhm.
love the
Oh,
smell of
that's
peppermint.
so good.
Yeah. Peppermint is an amazing oil, and what I used peppermint mostly for was when my heart was so heavy with the comparison, with the self-doubt, with the feelings of lack of self-worth and self-love. Peppermint helped to lift my heart higher into a higher frequency, because once it was in that higher frequency, I was able to feel love for myself. I was able to actually integrate that self-love even deeper. Again, another way to unlock those blocks.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about how essential oils and energy healing can work together to create those emotional breakthroughs. Talk a bit about that because you incorporate that in your work.
Yes, thank you for asking that question. So, essential oils led me to energy work, and I realized and was shown how they pair so nicely together. So, as I was doing my own healing work with one of my mentors, she recommended the oils after we did the sessions, and I would have trapped emotions that she would release. I'd have limiting beliefs that I was working on. I did a lot of ego work.
Mhm.
I realized I didn't feel very safe at all in what I was doing in my life. I felt not very safe being me, even. And so we did a lot of ego work on helping me to feel safe. And so as I paired it with the oils, it's like if you've had a garden and you
Mhm.
go out and you try to weed the garden, and if the ground is really dry and packed, you try and pull a weed, okay, you might pull the top of it, but you don't really get to the root.
Yeah, you really
And so
don't.
what the essential oil does is it actually waters that soil. It softens it. It makes it soft. So when you go to pull that weed, you go to pull that trapped emotion, you go to pull that limiting belief out, it comes out cleanly and easier than it would if you were trying to tug at it without having
That's a great
prepared the soil.
analogy. I've never heard anyone express it that way, but it makes so much sense. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I love to, we have all these incredible modalities available to us now, but the way that to me it's like none of them is like all of it, right? It's they're all
right.
coming in with different parts of it and different aspects, and and sometimes the combinations are just miraculous. So I love that.
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, so that's about creating, being able to um, release that emotional baggage, this stuck, trapped emotions, that emotional energy that's trapped and stuck in our bodies. So let's talk a little bit about the impact that has on our self-worth.
Oh, yeah. Well, in order to be able to have that self-worth and self-love and compassion, we have to get rid of the barriers, because there really are energetic barriers to us being able to feel that way. If we've lived our whole life in just constantly negative self-talk, believing poorly about ourselves, those become energetic barriers within us. Sometimes it can be a heart wall. Heart walls are composed of these trapped emotions, energetic wise, that our subconscious kind of piles in front of our heart to protect us and keep us alive. It's our ego. That's our ego's job, is
Yeah.
to keep us alive. And
Mhm.
anything that we come across that might be threatening to that, our heart wall is like, oh, our subconscious is like, let's protect our heart because we got to stay alive, right? So, but those energies, when they pile up like that, they create um, they create distance between us
Yeah.
and other people. We're not
Mhm.
able to connect authentically. We're even blocked from our dreams and our goals. And
Yes.
we thought that this would be a helpful thing. At least our subconscious, our ego is thinking, yeah, we're helping you out here, but actually it's a huge block. And so
Right.
removing these energies actually opens us up to healing and to love, to authentic, real, true love. And
Absolutely.
that's the foundation of the healing
Now, what
is
I
just,
was hearing what you're saying is, yeah, I think very often, especially healers and people who are, drawn to healing work, um, very often they're like giving, 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 right? Taking care
mm,
of themselves. And I think there's this place where because we don't feel wanted or loved, we said, well, then I'll make myself needed,
oh yeah,
right? That's the
I'm with you
pattern.
there. Yeah.
So if I'm needed, then they'll let me stay, right? And they'll
Mhm.
feel like there's some value in me. But it's and there's nothing wrong with being needed, but it's to try to cover up that we don't feel like we belong, we don't feel like we're loved, we don't feel like we're wanted,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah,
And
it's a total
it's
coping
coming from it,
mechanism.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
coming from a completely different place. So how does that doing that work to cultivate the self-worth and cultivate the self-love? Let's talk about how that, allows for more authentic and even attracting more authentic relationships. So talk
Oh
about that.
yeah. Well, we all want to find that dream person or that good buddy, that friend that really, gets us.
Oh,
And
you get that soulmate connection and
yeah, that soulmate
whether it's at a
connection,
friend
twin
level or a
flame.
romantic level, that like, yeah,
But if we don't have that already within ourselves, if we don't haven't made that connection with our own self, we're
Mhm.
not going to find it externally. So that's where we start is with ourself, is making that connection, that love connection with ourself. And um, looking at the barriers to that would be, your trapped emotions, your heart walls, your limiting beliefs about yourself, the things you say to yourself. I think we say things to ourselves that we would never say to someone else, and we allow
Very
it.
true.
We think it's
We
okay.
do. We're like
Yeah,
mean to ourselves.
we
If you,
are.
I'll be like, oh, I'm so stupid, right? Like, and it's not like I'm super meaning it, but I'm still meaning it enough. All right. Because I forgot something or screwed something. And it's like, I would never say that to another person. I
Yeah,
would never.
yeah,
But it's easier somehow.
yeah. And so we learn how to love ourselves. And when we learn how to love ourselves, our vibration raises. And then we're attracting people into our lives that love us too, and that we can love as well. And that's all part of, our healing process, coming to that place. And I don't think we ever really arrive. I think there's always another layer
Right.
that we
Yeah.
get to go through. So,
Yeah, I get that. I'm with you too. It's not about arriving. It is about the journey. Like I'll have clients who'll say like, well, when will we be done? Kind of thing. Yeah, there can be I know the same thing. I kind of laugh. I mean, there can be a done with a particular issue, sure, but there's no done, right? As long as if you're still breathing, there's there's always more to work on, but that's not bad news, right? It's just that there's always better your life can get. There's always higher your vibration can go, right? There's always
oh, yeah.
better you could be feeling physically. There's no limit to so don't think of it as like, oh, I'll never be done. It's like, I'll never be done. There's always more.
There's more to learn.
There's always more to learn and experience and like that next level of vitality, right? Love it. All right. Excuse me. Before we get to your gift, which we will talk about in a moment, and you started to talk about this a little bit, but I'd like to maybe hear a little bit more for people to suggest some ways to use essential oils to heal emotional blocks. So why don't you give us a few tips on that, and then we're going to talk about your free gift.
All right, thank you. I really like affirmations. And things, so I'll catch myself saying something about myself like, oh, that was so stupid, or I should have done that differently, or I really berating myself. And then what I'll do is I'll take that and change it to a positive, like I'm learning and growing in grace and ease. And so that will be an affirmation. And then I'll pair that with an oil. Um,
Mm,
and lavender is a good one because it deals with being unloved. And so I would use lavender maybe on my heart. And as I'm saying the affirmation in the morning, I will say the affirmation. and it just kind of um sinks it in more. We're smelling the oil, we're saying the words, we're tapping it into our body. So it's just getting past several of the senses and the barriers.
Mm.
Another way to use it is when you're journaling.
Mm.
Oftentimes sometimes I have to do a brain dump because my mind is so full of things, especially if I have had a triggering moment. So I'll just get out my journal and I'll just free write, just get it all out. And afterwards I'll use or before I can use an oil that might pair with how I'm feeling. Maybe I'm really angry and I'll find an oil that really helps me to dissolve the anger as I'm writing. Or afterwards, I need a little bit more self-compassion for myself and might choose another oil that would support that self-compassion and just help me to release any other energetic cords that may still be there. That's another way to use oils. Another one would be meditation,
Mm.
helping you to connect more to the divine. Maybe you're struggling, maybe I'm or anyone else is struggling with connecting with the divine, and maybe just putting a little bit of I like clary sage for this. Just putting
Mm.
a little bit of clary sage right here. It activates the third eye and your intuition and connection with the divine. Another way would just be just off the moment if you're feeling stressed or if
Mhm.
you're feeling not very confident or fearful. I had one moment where I discovered something that was so traumatic to me, like I couldn't breathe. Like I was like having problems and I called my friend and she is my essential oil guru and she says, get some peppermint. And so I put
Mm.
peppermint on my heart and it helped to calm me down so I could actually breathe. So there
Beautiful. All
there
right. Those are some great ones.
yeah.
Write those down or go back and listen again. All right. So as we wrap up here, I know you have a free gift for everyone. 5 quick and simple ways to claim self-love and acceptance. So tell us a little bit about that so people can go get that gift from you.
Yeah, I just go through some tried and true things that have really worked for me. Um, a few of them have to do with just being very observant of what you're thinking.
Mhm.
One is stop, challenge, and choose. So stop when you pause. So pause and realize you're thinking
I call
something.
it, I'm gonna say, I call it the sacred pause.
Oh, good.
Right when you just like, wait a sec, let's
Yeah, wait.
pause
Let's
for a minute.
reevaluate. Yeah. And then we challenge, is it true? Is what I'm thinking about myself true?
Mhm.
And if it's not, obviously it probably won't be.
Mhm.
And then choose a different thought, trade it out. And so that's one technique, and you can use an oil with that to help with
Beautiful.
that. So
Beautiful. So that's just one of the 5 that you'll get with us. So
mhm.
go ahead and go grab that gift from Jenny Marie. So delightful to have you here
Oh,
in
thank you.
part of the summit. And any closing words? What would you like to leave people with?
I think the biggest thing is not becoming overwhelmed. That this is a journey. It takes one step at a time. Lots of times we want to just take the whole elephant all at once
Yeah.
and just be done. But we get to be patient and loving with ourselves because it is a journey and we get to just enjoy the journey. I know sometimes it's hard thinking that why would I enjoy my fear, my panic, and my anxiety? But it's actually there teaching us a lesson. And if we can get to the lesson, then we've
Mhm.
got the key. And I think part of that is the essential oils can help us get to that lesson. So,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be as hard as it's been up until now when you
mhm,
bring these incredibly potent, helpful helpers as part
yeah,
of the journey. So,
yeah.
well, thank you so much, Jenny Marie. It's so great to have you here. And thank you for sharing all your story and
Oh,
all of your wisdom.
thank you, Anne. It was wonderful. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.